A new CNN interview with Donald Trump. He's responding to tough new attacks by Jeb Bush. CNN's Don Lemon spoke with Trump a short while ago. Don joining us now live. What did he say, Don?
What didn't he say? Of course, this is Donald Trump. He said, you know, that's where we started, Brianna. Jeb Bush has been taking dead aim at Donald Trump because Donald Trump has been firing really at Jeb Bush. The two have been going at it. But Jeb Bush took dead aim at him in an ad with a series of sound bites of Donald Trump saying he's a Democrat or he has Democratic tendencies or he lives in New York City. What is he, a Democrat or a Republican? That's where we started. Here's what Donald Trump said.
You know, one other thing I'll say, because he mentions the fact that I was at one point a Democrat. Well, in New York City, everybody was a Democrat, practically. If you run for city council, if you run for political office, whoever wins the Democrat primary is automatically, there was almost no election because the Republicans hardly exist in New York City. Well, that's where I was. If you look at Ronald Reagan, he was a Democrat. He was actually, Don, he was a Democrat with a very liberal, or at least a pretty liberal bent, and he became a Republican with a somewhat conservative, I wouldn't say very, but he was a conservative Republican.
But, Mr. Trump, that's the first time I've ever heard of you, call yourself a politician, refer to yourself as a politician. And, I mean, did you ever consider yourself
I hate to do it. But I guess when you're running for office, I hate the term politician as it relates to myself. I've never been. I've only been a politician for 3 months. But, I guess that's what I am right now, unfortunately.
Well, were you a Democrat at that point?
It's not going to be politics as usual.
Were you a Democrat at that point when you said that?
Well, at one point I was a Democrat, and for a period of time, and over the years, as Ronald Reagan changed, I also changed. I became much more conservative. I also became a Republican.
So there you go. Donald Trump coming out as a politician. I've never really heard him, Brianna, refer to himself as a politician. He says, I hate to admit it, but I am a politician. Also saying at one point he was a Democrat, but he evolved on issues, and now he's conservative, and he considers himself a Republican. One thing he said, and he keeps comparing himself to Ronald Reagan, and he said, as Ronald Reagan did, and Mitt Romney should have done but didn't do, but what Ronald Reagan did, in Donald Trump's estimation, is he fired up some Democrats, and he believes that he can get the nomination and win the presidency by firing up what he calls Reagan Democrats. Listen.
When Mitt Romney ran, there was a tremendous millions of people that are Republicans and conservative Republicans and evangelicals and people that I have a great relationship with. They sat home for some reason and they did not vote. You know that. And I'm talking about millions of people. And had they gotten up and voted for Mitt Romney, he would have won the election. Yeah. And people are forgetting about that. Plus, I think me more than anybody else, I'll go across lines. I think I'll have a lot of Democrats. You know, Reagan had Democrats for Reagan. It was a very big group of people and a very big bloc. I think I will have a lot of Democrats for Trump. I think I will have a lot of Democrats voting for me, far more than any Republican for the last long period of time. I will say this, and I will say this, very strongly. The Republican conservatives were not energized in the last election. Had they been energized and had they voted, you would have seen victory for Mitt Romney.
We also talked about raising taxes. I asked him if he could win the nomination, he believes, as a Republican by wanting to raise taxes, as he's been talking about on hedge fund managers and so forth, the richest Americans. He fought back with me on a little bit of that and said that, it wasn't quite what he wanted to do, and then he explains himself. So we talk about that, and we also talk about some issues today, like what happened in Illinois with the police officers, and also what happened in Texas with the deputy and Black Lives Matter. We'll have that later for you, Brianna.
Yeah, that is just a bit of your interview with Donald Trump. We're looking forward to the entire thing. Don Lemon, thank you so much. He's going to be back with more news and with the rest of his interview with Donald Trump just a few hours on CNN.